everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name's Leonie. I'm a lifestyle vlogger and new parent vlogger to my 4-month-old daughter. So from the title of this video, you probably guessed this is going to be my birth story. It's taken me a good 4 months to film this because for me it was quite traumatic, and it's just to go through that and relive it is quite upsetting to me. I've tried many times to film this, but it gets a bit too much and I get really teary. I probably will still cry in this one. We will see. So I didn't manage to get a lot of vlog footage. I got a bit from the induction, a bit when I first was contracting, but my mind was elsewhere during my labour, so there's not a lot of the labour footage for you guys, I'm afraid. So I was induced at 41 weeks and 5 days. I had 2 stretch and sweeps and that didn't work, so I went in for my induction. This was the Tuesday morning. So it is currently Tuesday the 30th of June and me and Adam are on the way to the hospital because it is induction day. So our June baby may be a July baby depending on how quickly it goes. So I don't know how long or what's going to happen really, being first baby. Are you excited? Very excited. Yeah, obviously Adam can't be there for the induction. He's got to wait till I'm in active labour, so it's a lot of waiting about, probably to and from the hospital, which is about 40 minutes for us back and forth, which isn't ideal, but it is what it is. At least he can visit afterwards when I go on to the postnatal ward. They get an hour a day now, which is better than nothing. But yeah, I'm excited, I'm nervous, and I'm quite relieved that she's going to be here in the next few days now. So maybe today, maybe tomorrow, or hopefully by 42 weeks. So I will keep you posted on my induction, labour and delivery journey. So my induction started at 11 AM I believe, and then I was at the hospital at 7:30. Everything was going fine, so they released me. I was monitored the whole time. So I am currently on the monitor. I've just had my corona swab and my bloods, and I'm just waiting to have the ProPes tissue put in, which should be anytime soon now. So I've just had the ProPes pessary put in. They said they didn't even think I was 1 centimetre dilated, which was annoying, but hey ho, it's now going to be in for 6 hours. Hopefully that starts something and we'll be on our way. If not, I'm going to have to go home and then come back tomorrow and have the prostaglandin gel, which means I won't be able to have my water birth, so fingers crossed for today. Absolutely fine. I had to be on my own, but I had a nap, I watched a bit of TV, it went really quickly. It wasn't an issue at all, wasn't painful. I started to feel twinges, but nothing major. So I got home and then my contractions started getting stronger. Hi, so I am now back home. It's nearly 9 o'clock. They sent me home about 7:30. I'm definitely getting contractions now. They're bearable, but they're definitely there. They're not regularly yet. I'm not in established labour, so they've sent me home to the labour here, which I'm doing on the edge of my bed. Hopefully I only need this ProPes or whatever they put in me, and that means I can have my water birth. So hopefully I'll progress over tonight, and that will be there. If not, then I'll have to go back in tomorrow at 11 AM and look at more invasive, I want to say invasive, but obviously a different induction, which I think would be the drip. But yeah, so hopefully these contractions will keep getting steadier and stronger. I'm coping alright at the moment. They're not nice, but they're manageable, and I'm tracking them on my timer, but we shall see how tonight goes. So I was contracting throughout the night. and I think I got to about 2:30 and my contraction timer was telling me, right, it's time to go to the hospital. So I called up the hospital and I was like, give it a little bit longer, try have a bath and everything. So I did, and then I think at 3:30 I called him again and like, look, my contractions are coming closer together, a lot more regular, and my app is telling me. So I then was told to come in. So I went to the hospital, I think must have been about just before 4, I believe, I got to the hospital. And this is the first thing that kind of upset me, and it was the fact that I had to walk from the car park with my bags and then go up 4 levels in the hospital on my own contracting. I had to put my bags in a wheelchair when I found one in the hospital and kind of like push the wheelchair, leaning on it when I was contracting, and get myself up to the 4th floor to the day assessment unit on my own in the middle of the night. And I got really upset about that because obviously Coivd, Adam wasn't allowed in until I was actually on the active labour ward. So they put me on a bed, gave me some gas and air, and I was waiting to be examined. I then went to the toilet and I noticed blood and I really panicked. And since 37 weeks, I've just been looking out for the bloody show. So something I've been looking out for every single day since then. But in my state of mind at that moment in time, I saw the blood and I panicked. I was like, there's something wrong with me. Why am I bleeding? So I then went to the midwife and was like, look, I'm bleeding. And she was like, no, it's absolutely normal. It's fine. We'll come and examine you in a second. And it took me a while. It was well after the birth that actually clicked, and I was like, oh my god, that was my bloody show. So she came and examined me. I was 4 centimetres. She took the pessary out and said, right, okay, we can take you down to the labour ward. So I was taken down to the labour ward and Adam finally came down. I think it was about 4:30. So it's about 45 minutes from dropping me off. I think he said that he managed to actually come into the hospital and come down to the labour ward and see me. So I opted to have an epidural because I thought if I'm not having my water birth, then I might as well have the epidural. At this stage I was quite tired, and I thought if it's gonna be a long labour, I'm gonna be in pain, I might not be in the zone and be distracted by the pain and the tiredness to be really enjoy my labour. So I had the epidural, and it was a really good decision for me at the time. I say that because there's a part of me that feels guilt for having it, and I think maybe if I hadn't had it, I could have got her into a better position and things wouldn't have turned out the way they did. But at the time it was the best decision for me. So the midwives told me that I was having a textbook perfect delivery at this time. I was contracting or dilating every 2 centimetres every 4 hours, and I said, that's textbook perfect, you're doing really well. My waters broke at 10 centimetres. 10 centimetres dilation. Everything was going absolutely fine, and this is where I took some notes because I had a birth reflections meeting yesterday to go over a lot of stuff, because towards I think I remember stuff of these bits I'm going to tell you, but I think I just blocked them out, and then everything after that when I got ill is just an absolute blur. So I was fully dilated, but my contractions started slowing down. So this is about 4:45 p.m. So they put me on an oxytocin drip that's meant to accelerate and speed up your contractions. I was examined at 6 p.m. Everything was fine, so I was actively pushing, and I was actively pushing for well over an hour. And then the heart rates, Isla's heart rate started to slow down, so they were concerned. So they got the doctors in, and I remember this part because at this point I had a lot of fingers up my nun, one after each other, and then the consultant came in and she was like feeling how I was pushing, and she said, you're pushing amazingly, it's not you. So I had a scan done as well as like internal checks, and Isla's head, instead of looking down at the floor, she had her head to the side, so she kind of had her elbows and her neck twisted, and she just wasn't moving when I was pushing with the contractions. So they decided that it would take me down to theatre and do a forceps delivery. So I mean, at this point I started to panic because it was like all at once. I didn't know, I don't remember them ever telling me that about the oxytocin drip. I don't remember them ever telling me that my contractions had slowed down. Adam says he remembers bits, but I just don't remember anything like that. All I remember is everything going fine to everyone coming in the room and there being a problem. And then there was meant to be a twin schedule cesarean, and I remember the doctor saying, right, cancel that, we've got an emergency theatre. So they were taking me down to theatre, so they had to cancel the cesarean. So I went down, and of course I was nervous at this point, but I was thinking forceps delivery, that's fine, you know, it is what it is. I didn't imagine it, but I got there and I got all ready. They put me up in the stirrups, everything was ready to go for forceps, and then the consultant was like, I can't do this delivery by forceps. Apparently, A, because of her position, B, the moulding of her skull and the capping was very extreme apparently, and they would have caused a lot of damage to myself and Isla. They just couldn't move her in the position to deliver her by forceps, so they had to go in for emergency cesarean. And even this, I mean, I was scared, don't get me wrong, and I was panicked, but this isn't where my trauma lies. I started to panic. I was like, going to the doctors, I was like, can you do a test cut? Can you do a test cut? Can you just poke me so I know that the epidural was working? I'm not going to feel it. So I started panicking, which was really weird. And I was panicking they weren't going to let Adam in time, but they did. And so she was delivered by cesarean, and yeah, I mean, I know people say your birth plans don't go the way you wanted, and I did 3 different birth plans. I'm I'm an organizer, so I had my birth plan 1, backup birth plan in case of this and that. And the main things I really wanted from my birth plan was to be the first one to hold her on my body for an hour, to have delayed cord clamping for quite a while, and things like that. And I didn't get them. Apparently I got delayed cord clamping, but it couldn't have been for that long because she'd taken her out, cut her. Adam held her first, I think, before they placed her on me, and then they took her off me for a while before they took me down to recovery to put her back on me again. So I didn't get those things, which is the most upsetting. Well, yeah, things like that just upset me. I was like, oh, I wanted to do all that bonding and stuff like that. And obviously the delayed cord clamping being a benefit to Isla, but at least she was delivered safely, and I didn't lose a lot of blood from the operation. So they then took me down to the recovery ward, and I latched on perfect, everything was fine. Obviously I was tired and groggy, but I wasn't feeling that bad. So that was that, and we had to say goodbye to Adam, which was really upsetting. It was quite quick. I think we were only in recovery for about half an hour, then he had to go home. And you know, that's quite upsetting for both of us, for him and for me. You know, he's just seen me go through all this and then he's got to leave us. So I then was taken down to the postnatal ward, and they came round and did my checks at 10 p.m. and I remember fragments, and I remember a bit more towards the end of my stay when I started to recover, but most of this is just notes they've told me, things from Adam, and just bits, because during the day there would be periods of time where I was able enough to talk on text. Well, I can't. Let me just go for it, I'll just talk to you. So I then had a really bad temperature and was feeling really unwell about 10 o'clock, and it kept spiking. So they came back and checked me again, and my temperature kept spiking. My blood pressure had also risen quite high, so they had to put me on a sepsis pathway, and I continued to get a lot more ill. And during the night, I remember them at 2 p.m. they tried to get me up to go to the toilet, and it was horrendous. I don't think at that time they probably realised I was ill, rather than just generally had a cesarean. But for me, it was very traumatic traumatic, them trying to get me out of this bed. I just wasn't ready. I was feeling so ill. I couldn't go to the toilet, even though they're making me try. I was like gushing with blood. I didn't know that was going to happen. They said it was normal, and it was. I just wasn't ready. I was just feeling so ill, and I find this bit hard. I find it really hard to talk about because I don't remember much, but what I do remember, it's horrible. It was like I can't describe the feeling of how I felt in those days in hospital when I wasn't feeling well. I couldn't look after my baby. I don't remember much. I felt like I was robbed of that initial bonding with her. I was so ill, and I don't know. I feel like for me it was traumatic being in this hospital on my own to look after this newborn baby when I physically couldn't do anything for myself. I was so ill. I couldn't hold her because I kept passing out. I couldn't feed her because I was so ill. My body wasn't even producing colostrum. So luckily I had harvested some colostrum before, so I was able to give her that. We had to give her some bottles in the end because she was starving. Luckily, my breastfeeding, I managed to get my milk to come in like a week or so later, but that's a different story. And I honestly, I don't know how to describe how I felt in those few days. It just upsets me. Just because, I don't know, I felt like a failure. I felt like I couldn't get to my baby in time. I couldn't look after her. I was ill. I didn't understand why I felt so bad. I was seeing all these mums coming and going and being able to look after their babies okay and dealing with their cesareans, and I just thought, why am I so weak? Like, I didn't really understand how ill I was, and I just thought, why am I weak? And all these other people are leaving, and all these other people are able to get up and go to the toilet, able to get up and pick their baby up, able, you know, to do all this, and I can't. What's wrong with me? It took me a while to realise I was because I was ill, but so they put me on a lot of medication. I was on a lot of different antibiotics and blood pressure medications and morphine and painkillers. Apparently had 3 records full of them, of all the medication, and then also my veins kept issuing, so the cannulas they put in your hands to put the IV drips in, they would like rupture the veins, like the liquid wouldn't go through and like just swell my hands, and that happened 7 times. The nurses couldn't get them in, the ward doctor couldn't get it in. I had to have the anaesthetist come down and actually try and place them in my veins, to the point where they're like, we might have to put these in your feet because we've got no veins left to put anywhere. They had to take Isla away and take her down to is it the wards, I can't even think of the name, to put her on an IV drip and do blood tests because they didn't know she'd caught the infections as well. And luckily she hadn't. She was absolutely fine. It was just me, but that was horrible. Having to see that they'd put like things in her veins, just it freaked me out. And towards the end of my stay, I started to improve and get better. So I remember more towards the end of the stay, I got an allergic reaction from those, you know, those tenor lady pants. So I then had this massive rash around my back and stomach that was like burning on top of my cesarean scar. So that was just another thing. And then I also hallucinated or saw a ghost, one of the two. But this is the day I was being discharged, so I was a lot better. but I took a picture of me and Isla. My granddad was in the picture. When I saw it, I mean, he full on was in that picture. When I obviously went back and looked again, he wasn't, but he was full on there, and I was like, oh my God, like it freaked me right out. And I was like, I have a hallucination, or he was like just coming to pop and see his great granddaughter. But that really freaked me out as well. I must say, that's one of the things I do remember towards the end of my stay. So I was discharged out of the hospital, and we went home. And I was still ill for a good 2 weeks after that. I'd come back and I had 3 different antibiotics to take, iron tablets, other painkillers, injections. I had a whole list of things I had to take as well when I was back. And I don't think I really started feeling myself to about week 5. And that's recovery from the C-section, as well as the illness, because apparently one of the antibiotics I was on is a really nasty one, and it strips your body of everything, all the good bacteria as well as the bad. So that's probably why I was feeling so bad for so long as well. And then I also feel like I might have an adverse reaction to morphine, because I think that might have been half the reason I was so out of it as well as being ill. But I was like on cloud cuckoo land. So that is my birth story. Yeah, I still have a bit of trauma from it, as you can tell. I can't even look at you, like I get teary, I can't. But you know, I know people say, oh, all that matters is your baby's okay, but I think it's important to, you know, understand that women do have trauma from birth, do have traumatic experiences, and it is hard, and it is hard to deal with. And you know, my inbox is always open if you guys have been through a similar experience. I mean, I've heard so many different stories from you guys that have been in similar or far worse situations than my birth. And I just want to say, you know, if you need an ear or someone to talk to, then I'm definitely here and will listen. And I think it's important to let people know that, you know, trauma is important to deal with and talk about. So I just want to say as well, if you're expecting a baby and you're watching this thinking, crap, this is just my story. There are many people out there that have their birth plans go exactly as they want or have minimal complications. So don't be scared. Don't sit there and fear your labour. Enjoy it. You're only going to give birth to your baby once. And yes, it may end up being traumatic, but I just want to put it out there that there is support, and there are other people that have been through it. So don't be scared to say, yeah, I know people say all the time that what's most important is the baby's okay, but you know, mum has got to be okay too. So it's okay to be upset if you don't get the birth you want. It's okay to say I'm got birth trauma, PTSD, talk to somebody, get some help. It's just I think Pickle is waking up now, so I think this might be the end of the video. So I think I've covered all bases. I will be putting a Instagram post up as well of all my details, so if you visit me at leonie.parker over on Instagram, then you can read that as well as my inbox being open to anyone that's got any questions or just wants to talk about their labour. Then I'm here for you guys. Just send me a DM. So if you give this video a thumbs up, comment down below if you got the birth you wanted or you didn't, and give me a subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.